Hey, Seatac. Clo here, your chickadee in absolute love with the sky. While the raiders raid, the chokes, the shroud. Well, we'll get to that. But whatever you have going on, I'm here for you. Alright, folks, as promised, we're going to have news on the outcome of the elections as well as some other notes around the area. But first, we have to talk about the elephant no longer in the room. I'm talking about the sky, folks. Many of you were outside and able to see it firsthand. I was lucky enough to be outside my studio when it happened. Folks, the sky has cleared. For the first time in recent years, we can see clear skies with hints of green, blue, cyan, and a full view of the sun. There isn't a cloud in sight. For those of you who received this broadcast in bunkers, vaults, or other places indoors or underground, let me do my best to describe the scene for you. It all started with the clouds twisting, as if they were roiling in some sort of giant storm. Faster and faster, the clouds seemed to shear away. As this was happening, we saw what was causing it. A giant eye-like aperture was firing down from the sky, blasting into the cloud cover, growing larger and larger as it worked. After a few minutes, the storm seemed to reach its peak. The blast roared, and the clouds were obliterated in one last gust. It was a terrifying sight to behold. The event raises a tremendous amount of questions. But one thing we cannot question, one thing this broadcaster will not question, is that it was beautiful. If any of you have a chance to get out from underground, I implore you, do so. We have no way of knowing how long this will last. We don't know who owns the satellite that did this, or if the same people caused the shroud to be so persistent, covering everything in the first place. We don't know what caused them to change their minds, but whoever you are, if you can hear this broadcast, thank you. Okay, folks. Let's calm down and take a quick break. We'll have some more news about the elections right after this. Here's a holotape from that recent trade. Lizzie Miles, My Pillow and Me.
I've got the old soul, evil feeling caught my spirit gone. I mean, I've got it bad. I've tried to make believe that I'm not sad, not a single soul but my pillow and me. Nobody knows half the troubles I see. It's my delusion. Life is not a sweet song. It's my conclusion that the whole entire world is more times when I'm smiling, when I ought to be sighing, should be crying for a little bit of sympathy. Don't tell me I'm trying to make them believe everything is satisfying. Oh, nobody knows but my pillow and me.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back. As promised, let's take a look at those election results. As you may know, when the election started, the initial predictions by various sources called for the likely retention of Consul Marianne Beacon and co-consul Paul Crown. However, the recent uptick of violence in the region, loss of the vaults, Emporium, all of this caused a last-minute surge in turnout against the incumbents, especially those in Gateway, which suffered through the recent riots after NCR Representative Rotterdam's murder. This resulted in a swing, allowing the council to be taken over by Jacob Queen Anne as consul and Rosa First as co-consul. This is notable as incumbents are rarely defeated, and in that both Queen Anne and Rosa First have led tribes that have provided large numbers of soldiers to the council of the city. As far as their politics go, they tend to hold anti-Port Authority stances as well as anti-NCR stances, favoring strong independent rule. It's notable that these two initially showed a lot of support from Giroux Denny of Denny Hill. Denny Hill is centrally located and has been hard hit by the choke and violence from recent mutant attacks. What can be taken away from this is of course up to you, listeners. But what is likely are continued stances of strong militaristic isolation centrally located within the council of the city. And this will of course have effects on negotiations with the NCR and the Port Authority over the next 10 years of their tenure. Speaking of the Port Authority, the sky clearing was a heart-shaking sight to behold. The event notably caused a bit of a stir. Honestly, I have even locked my doors as the hustle and the bustle has died down and those in power have stayed hunkered down in their bunkers and rooms. What's going on inside of the closed doors is anyone's guess, but as I've mentioned many times previously, the Port Authority controls a large amount of trade and has a rather large battleship in its possession. I imagine they aren't the only ones spooked by this event. People in power all over the region are likely trying to figure out what's going on. In other news, I've gotten word that we may have word on what's going on over in Emporium, Vault 199 and the region out east. We'll have more on that in an upcoming broadcast. As always, listeners, keep watch. Vault 6 is still silent. There are still Valkyries and dangers to contend with. But listeners, the sky is clear. We are voting. We, together, are making life work for our community. Alright, let's go ahead and end it here for now. As always, be safe, everyone. Here's some more music for you.
There's a city in every nation that is ranked on the others above. It's the joy of the whole population, and the one they are proud of and love. The French have their Paris, the English have their London, the Germans are Italy, but my heart has a thrill for a hero.
Seatac follows a group of players playing through a campaign based in the Fallout universe, utilizing the Fate RPG system. Their decisions inform what's going on in the story. This episode was written by me, JC Cleland, with huge contributions from the wonderful GM of that campaign, Kat. Honestly, I could not do this without her, or any of the players for that matter. The song you are currently listening to is My Old Town by the Columbia Quarter. All the license notes and attributions are listed in the description below. Show all the love you can. As always, any likes, subscribes, or comments are welcome, and honestly, they help people find this. Thank you so much for listening.
We've our faults, but we don't have to mind them. Far away from New York and